Today on Carpooling with Ben, I have a local author who has written an amazing series. Well, the first two of the series, right. I should say. Very, very comparative to some incredibly popular books out there as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the car, Miss Raina Smith. Raina?
Nice to see you,
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm thrilled.
I'm glad you're here. How's everything going?
Very good. In fact, I brought you and your wife a gift.
Look at that.
I wonder if you can guess what it is.
I don't know.
It's
kind of squarish.
Yep.
I won't open it now.
About the weight of maybe 2 books.
Perhaps. I will save that for Susan to open up.
It.
Beautifully wrapped
Thank
too.
You. I did that last night.
My word. That's
Thank you.
Fancy.
Thank you.
I grew up from the household that we used like the comics section.
Well, that's
absolutely.
Nice too.
You know, it's
I wanted it to be pretty.
Trying to be green, but you've done a variety of things in Rhode Island.
Right.
Over the 22 years you've been alive.
Thank you, Ben. That's right. Just had a birthday, and that's right. 22.
22.
Yeah.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Times 2 plus.
Hey, I do the editing. Don't you worry about that. But you've worked.
Television. You've
Radio. Done stuff with I remember with the Secretary of State Mollis.
Right. So I started out at Channel 6.
Okay.
And then, so I was a news reporter there for a while, and then I moved over to Channel 12.
Okay.
Where I worked for about 5 years, and that was a lot of fun. And I sort of got into television because of my friend Glenn Laxton.
He's a great guy.
He was a great guy, and he was a good friend.
Excellent.
He got me into television back in, well, I was an intern at Channel 12, and he sort of got me started. And then I left television to go to radio, WPRO.
Okay.
I was with Ron St. Pierre as his co-host,
sure.
and so on and so forth. And then after that, I wrote my first novel, The 13th Apostle.
Now,
it took me about 6.5 years from start to finish.
I was going to say, because these books aren't, I wrote a kid's book, and it took me all of 20 minutes. Yours is a little more complex.
Yeah.
So the first one is The 13th Apostle.
Correct. It's about 471 pages, fiction, of course. The same genre as the Da Vinci Code.
I was going to say,
thriller.
A lot of people compared it to that.
Right.
And that's
or
so
The
great.
Omen.
Okay.
Or Anne Rice's, interview with the vampire. There are no vampires in it, but it's that whole good and evil within the soul of mankind, religious thriller sort of genre. And people, really are loving the books. I just, launched the second one in the series, Divine Providence.
Okay.
And now I'm working on the third, which would be the final of the series.
Wow. That's amazing. How do you get into that kind of process to start writing? I mean, do you set time aside? Is it more of a, I feel a creative inspiration, or how does that process go?
Well, I think it's different for everyone. For me, I was sort of thinking about, when I was a news reporter, thinking about the world and sort of what was going on. I would see so much working in the news, everything that was going on in the world and politics, what was happening to the planet, animals, people, someone covering murder trials. And I would say, what are we doing to each other? What are we doing to the planet, and who are we? So I just would think about that. And I just, if you labor over where to start or who your characters will be, I know people outline their books. I don't.
Okay.
I just sat down and I'm like, well, where should I start? I'm like, I don't know, Tibet. So I started there, and I'll try to see a picture in my mind and who's there and what's happening.
Okay.
And then I'll just start to write it. And once I started, I became a little obsessed with it, and I wrote all the time. I never forced myself to write, because I think that's a recipe for failure.
Sure.
And then it seems like a job. I don't like to be forced to do anything. I want to do it if I feel it, if it makes me happy.
Sure.
So I could maybe write at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I could write, not write for 3 months, and then write a sentence, and then not write for 6 weeks. It's just whenever. I mean, not too long ago, I was walking in my neighborhood, and I saw this sky, this beautiful sunset.
Yeah.
And I've seen many beautiful sunsets.
Sure.
But it was so amazing. There was something special about it. And when I saw this sky, I saw like a whole scene, which became a whole chapter in the third book.
Wow.
And it can I can have a conversation with someone, I can see something, and it will birth a scene, a character, a chapter. I can hear classical music, it's very rare, but I'll hear a song maybe I never heard. It'll just hit me in a certain way, and I'll see a new character, or it will just just kind of
it
happens.
Starts to take on the environmental feel of what it is. That's really impressive.
It comes to me in pieces.
Have you?
And out of order.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
So that was my next question.
I wrote the end of book 3 maybe 5 years ago.
Really? Wow.
And I didn't even know how it would start, or that there would be 3 books. When I wrote the first one, I was writing, and then I came to the end. I didn't know how it was going to end, and I'm like, there's another book.
Okay.
And it was an amazing surprise.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I knew it would be 3, but that's it for the story.
Really?
I'm on page, I think, 105 of the 3rd book.
Wow. How do you develop the character? Do you have like a character bio off to the side and say, okay, these are the characteristics about this specific person, and kind of refer to that as you continue the writing, or does the person just continue to evolve as the writing process goes?
Well, the way I would describe it is it's like acting.
Okay.
Where I don't really, I know, what these characters look like and basically good or bad or whatever they are. And I sort of mentally get into the character and I get into their body, whether they're a heavy-set, robust priest or a real evil young woman. Just sort of get into their body, feel their body weight, feel their bones, their skin, get into their mind, and what would they do?
Okay.
Here they are, they're walking through a cornfield in Nebraska. What would Faylene do? What would Father Joseph do? Who are they? What are they seeking?
Interesting.
And I sort of act it out, get into them, and act it out. And sometimes I don't know what they're going to do, but when I'm within them, I kind of find my way through them.
It becomes a very cathartic experience as far as, that whole take it on.
Yeah, I will write down, I'll have a list of, she has this color hair, these color eyes, she has this build, she was wearing this at this time, things like that, but...
Do you hang up in your writing studio and people maybe come in and think you're profiling criminals or something? It's like...
No, I have a file.
Like NCIS on the wall there.
Yeah. I sort of keep all that stuff private. I have it in folders.
Sure.
And I have it so no one can really see, although I always have by the side of my computer, what I have written in my, latest book.
Right.
This is interesting. If I'm looking for a new character's name, Glenn Laxton taught me this. He said, go through an old graveyard and look at some of the old names.
Okay.
Interesting names.
Wow.
And something might strike you, and
That's a really cool tip. For anybody who is considering being a writer or does it for their own, their own personal therapy or just something to do for fun.
Yeah.
That's a really, that's a really great concept and a different way of thinking about it is to research, because you can Google anything. That's obvious, but to actually do the physical work of going somewhere different and walking and taking in, that's a very interesting element. Glenn had sadly he passed away.
He did last June.
But before he did, he was doing these videos of retelling old stories.
Not
and
to
everything.
be forgotten.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He
ran that on Channel 12.
Yes,
yeah.
I forgot about the name of it. But really great look, and it just feels like in New England, stuff like that has a natural audience, just because people are very traditional here. Maybe
There's
not
a lot of
traditional.
history.
Ton of history. People like to stay close by and remember those times. So that's really cool.
You mentioned Ralph Mollis earlier.
Sure.
I used to work as his director of communications.
Yes.
When he was Secretary of State.
Yep.
So
we did a few events together with Cardi.
We did. Yep.
Nairobi back there.
Hey guys.
They're back there. They keep quiet. We did a lot of registration drives and everything.
That's right.
That was
At
a lot
Cardi's
of fun.
in Warwick was one of them. I remember.
Yes. Yeah.
I started working as his director of communications. It was a great job. I was so happy, and little did I know that job would produce a major storyline for the second book, Divine Providence.
Really?
In fact, Ralph's a character in Divine Providence.
Wow.
He's the Secretary of State. It's after him. I model it after him, and his name is Randolph Darrow.
Okay.
And so there's so much history in Rhode Island, like the Royal Colonial Charter of 1663, which gave us our political and religious freedom in Rhode Island, and that works into the storyline. And so, I'm working there about a year or so, and I'm learning all these things about Rhode Island history, and I say, one day it sort of dawns on me, this this kind of works with the whole good and evil theme in Rhode Island. And so it actually, not only was it a great job, but it gave me a storyline for the second book.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was as if it was meant to be.
Wow.
That's how it felt.
Now, when you're not writing, when you're not, whether it's a brief break or you're taking some time to yourself, what do you like to do? What do you, whether it's here in Rhode Island or you've done some traveling, what do you like to do outside of the writing side of things?
Well, sometimes I like to exercise and walk in my neighborhood, but I also like to do fun things that lead to research for my book.
Okay.
Like recently went to Newport and I toured the Elms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is a wonderful historic mansion, because that's going to find its way into book 3. So, I can read online and I can see the pictures online, but when you go somewhere in person and you feel the energy of the property and you see it for yourself, you see the paintings on the wall and you see the furnishings and you imagine who lived there and you hear about the people who lived there and how that house came to be, it really now becomes a part of you, and you feel that there, and that lends a lot to the story.
Wow.
So I like to do things like that.
That's great. I mean,
I love dinner.
Yeah, oh, sure. I mean,
fun things like that.
We've got all the restaurants you could ever want and more. I could maybe do a few times too many, but hey, it's good for the economy.
It is. Right.
That's what I tell my wife. We're helping.
Right. That's
seriously.
right. Small businesses.
Absolutely. We got a ton of them around here too.
I love Rhode Island restaurants. I do. I love Rhode Island. A lot of people move away to a bigger city, but I love the history here. I love Newport. I love the ocean. It's not too far away from New York City or the mountains if you want to go skiing. I love the forest. I just really
You've got everything within. I mean, the furthest thing away that a person could want would probably be, New York City, and that's 3 hours on a train ride or a car ride. It's not that far, so it's a good area to be in. And like you said, the history. I mean, just driving through some of the oh, absolutely, some of the old mills, the mansions down in Newport, just all of that.
It's a lot of fun.
There's a lot of
vineyards, there's sailing, there's hiking. I grew up in Situate in the woods, and I really loved that. There was a lot of peace. It was beautiful. In high school there weren't a lot of bad kids, so to speak. It was just quiet and peaceful and beautiful, and I loved it. I was an only child, so I think that led to my imagination. Okay. You have to entertain yourself. Are you an only child?
No, I have two sisters.
Oh, okay. So you were tortured.
They're younger than me. I just kind of, we don't talk about those years because, crazy stories for another time, Raina. Yeah. Crazy stories for another time. The Elms, you were recently there.
Right.
And that was part of research for your third book
that I'm working on now,
and this is going to wrap up the whole story.
Right. I wrote the ending already.
Right. Yeah. That book, have you had people contact you? Because your books have been out for some time now.
Right.
And people get into the whole series of it. Have you had people contact you and say, is it going to go this way, or ask you for clues, or kind of insight on the different ways of things, or?
Well, not so much. I've had some wonderful compliments. I think the greatest compliment I ever had was this young man contacted me. There's a scene in the first book, The 13th Apostle, where this son forgives his father, who's a very bad guy. Okay. And it's a very touching scene, and it's about forgiveness. So this man read the book, read the chapter, and it touched him so much that he actually forgave his own father for decades of a very difficult life, and their relationship was very hard, but he went and forgave his father after he read it in my book. Wow. He said, I wanted to do it after I read your book, and there was no greater compliment than changing someone's life in that way, or it moving someone to do something good that released him from pain and his father. It was a really beautiful story.
Well, and the rule of compliments is, not many people will reach out with compliments, so there are probably hundreds of different versions of that story, or something different in the way of it helped a person cross a bridge in a certain way, or made a person look at something differently that helped them give a better outlook on life. So that's the really cool thing about the novels and those deep, complex stories, because they do take a long time to read, but you really get a lot of content out of it. I mean,
Right.
That's
It
excellent.
should touch you. I think a good story should touch you. And when someone's writing a book, I mean, a novel like mine, it should come from a really beautiful place, a really meaningful place. I mean, I really believe in the story. I really believe in the message that I'm, carrying through the story. You might think you know what it is in book 1, but then it takes a twist in, book 2 and further in book 3. I've had people contact me, from California and across the world, really, about the books, which I had a book signing in Scituate recently, and someone who has a home in Italy and also a home in North Kingstown, they showed up to the book signing. They ordered the book through Amazon Italy, Italy store.
Wow.
And had it delivered to their Italian home, and they were reading it, and he took it to Venice, and he was writing to me on Facebook with
Wow,
him and his wife. And I said, my book is in Italy right now or other countries, and people are reading it, and to know that you had these ideas in your mind, and you put them on paper, and you wrote this book, and these people around the world are reading your ideas, and they otherwise would have never known you.
Sure.
That
really is. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered, or have you done audio versions of this?
I have not. I've been asked by readers, do you have an audio version? And I would like to. I just haven't done that yet. It's a great idea.
Well, you gotta get book 3 done. Then maybe.
Right. Well, it's a great idea, and I should be doing that. So we'll see. Yeah, in the future.
If you did that, would it be more of a? Do you think you'd go more of a voice acting kind of, where you'd have different characters voiced by different people, or would it be storyteller, like one voice?
I don't know. I'd have to really listen to both, types and see what I think. Because I've listened to audiobooks and I really enjoyed them. And I know people are like, oh, at work I can't, be reading a book, but I could listen as I'm working if you had that. Or if I'm taking a trip and put it in the car.
Right.
It's a great idea.
Well, I mean, it's like anything else. You've worked so hard to create it, and they're not just short little stories.
No.
These are very complex.
Yeah, between the 2 books, it's over 1,111 pages for the 2 books.
That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of work. It took me years, blood, sweat, and tears, and thoughts, and feelings.
It's quite a process.
I'm all feelings out. I'm dead. I'm dead.
No, you're not. You're not. A lot of love. What else? I mean, summer's coming up. Summer 2017. Any fun plans coming up? Anything you're looking forward to, or just more writing?
Well, a little more research for the 3rd book. A little more writing. I'd like to get to some of the vineyards.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fun. I haven't been to Carolyn Sakana Vineyard yet. I'd like to check that out.
That's the one. Is that the one
Tiverton
that's in
and
Tiverton?
Willicompton?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Right off of Route 77 there.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out. Yeah, I'm not a big beach person.
No.
So, I'm not big on laying in the sun and burning my skin up or anything like that. Trying to preserve the skin.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Raina, thank you so much for taking the time today and talking about the books and they're great. I mean, they're excellent. Folks, if you don't know where to get them, obviously we'll have the show links right there. Perfect. I mean, the information's right there. And
guess who's on the cover?
Who's on the cover?
That would be me.
Whoa, there you go.
Did you figure that out? Yep.
I'll keep my eyes on the road. I'll look at the versions you gave to Susan and I. But thank you so much for
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sharing the story. It's such an intense labor of love that you do, and it's very, it takes a lot out of you, and that's very it's very generous of you to do that kind of work, and the connections you're making literally around the world are very, very impressive.
It's a lot of fun.
It's awesome. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you find her information right there online. We'll have all the links. So and we'll see you on the next time. All right.
Thanks, Ben.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Let's go get an awful or something.
All right.
Something
Sounds
good.
good.
All right. Cool.
I'm hungry.